Good morning.
Good morning. I call to order the Breckenridge Social Equity Advisory Commission. Can I get we don't need a second for that. We're going to go through roll call.
All right. Present is Eliana Graham, June Walters, Lori Morocco, Jordan Burns, Tadra Greer, Carol Sade, Sylvia Vicuna. Joining us today is newest commissioner Isaria.
Isa, you can call me Isa.
Isa?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cirilo? Okay.
It's Italian.
Perfect. Absent is Jason Smith and Joyce Delatorre.
Pina is mentioned to be on Zoom.
Zoom, okay. Currently nobody on Zoom, but we will keep that open and move forward.
Awesome. We are moving forward to
Just kidding, Joyce is here.
cool. Hi, Joyce.
Oh, hi guys. I cannot see.
Yeah, let's start the video. There we go.
Hello.
I'm taking your spot, Joyce.
All right, moving forward with a motion to approve minutes, we need to amend the agenda to correct the date for the October BSAC meeting to reflect.
That was last meeting. Are you reading? You're in the there you go.
We're just on the approval of the agenda,
Approval of the agenda.
and I'll second.
Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes.
One edit on the minutes, it's just a minor typo in the PD section on the fourth paragraph. It says the commissioners, how the program is advertised. I think you just need to add ask. So the fourth paragraph in the PD section. Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
But otherwise, I move to approve.
I second.
Awesome. Moving forward with our presentation, we have an ADA update presented by Danny York.
I actually one thing. We just needed a second approval for, was it minutes last month? Or do
I
we do that? Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Hello and good morning. My name is Danny York and I am the liability coordinator and the ADA coordinator for the town. I recognize most of you. You probably recognize me. I'm at the front desk of Town Hall as you come in. So the town took up a project last June or July. We started a self-evaluation. It's a very comprehensive look at all of the town's programs, buildings, public right-of-way, and policies regarding the Americans with Disabilities Act. We are a Title II entity as a government entity, so we follow all of the Title II regulations. And as well as Title I, that's employment. And our HR department handles that very, very well. But we hired a consultant. They're out of Colorado Springs. They are called Blue Accessibility, and they've been a really great partner working with us to evaluate and assess the town. So this is a project that is required by law to do a self-evaluation. There's 4 parts to a self-evaluation. First is the assessment. So like I said, we started back in like June or July, and we're just wrapping up with that assessment part now. So that's obviously like the biggest part of the whole process time-wise. So like I mentioned, we looked at the public right-of-way, which is the sidewalks and parking lots and parking. So, and that includes like the curb cuts at all of the intersections around town. So the next part was facilities, and the town owns a lot of facilities. Even the consultants, mentioned that, like, for the size of our town, how many facilities we own is like very high. So that really took a lot of time. So they evaluated not only the public spaces, but also the employee spaces. And it looks at everything from the restrooms, like the accessible stalls and where the reach bars are and how much room there is within those stalls, to anything like this desk, like how deep it is and how much room there is around it, and the aisles and how wide they are and what the slope is. So it's, like I mentioned, it's really comprehensive. It looks at, I can't remember the number of, they call it like, oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name of it now. Like, it's not an asset, but like the different touch points. I want to say there were like 30,000 in a building. So the reports are huge in the spreadsheets. So after that, we turned in like all of our policies, all of our procedures around programming, and these procedures, buildings, public right of way, and programs. Yeah. I haven't even started looking at the reports yet for anything except for buildings, just on the advice of the consultants. That was the place to start. So what we're moving into now is determining who is responsible for mitigating, all the findings from these reports, and then coming up with a schedule. So the next part is really all like meetings with staff, and going over like the specifics of all the reports and all the findings, and coming up with a plan of how we're gonna improve everything that they found. So we're expecting to finish that up with all pieces, not just buildings, by March. And then the next step in the whole self-evaluation process is to do public outreach. So we don't know what public outreach is going to look like yet. But as we move through and get closer to the finish of the report, we'll, obviously take ideas from this council, possibly, and also from staff, about what our public outreach should look like. We'll present our plan to the public and take comments. And then that's the finality of the process. We can take public comments, we can adjust our plan. The plan is probably going to look like a 30-year plan. So it's really going to encompass every finding from the ADA. We'll be complying with the 2010 standards. It's the newest standards. And I forgot to mention one. I knew there was one more besides programs. It's the website. And the website is undergoing a major overhaul because that is one portion of the ADA law that has gotten an update and a refresh, and it's coming into effect in 2024. So the website is a big part of it. So I hope that gives you a good understanding of what we're working on as far as the ADA and compliance, and I can take any questions.
Danny, is the public outreach, is that part required by law or something we just plan to do? And is the objective there to let them know we've identified this and we're working on it, or just solicit more feedback?
Yeah, all of the above.
Okay.
It is required by law. And it's just part of the process to make sure that we are doing what the community feels is important as far as our priorities. Yeah.
So theoretically, like public outreach would just kind of be an information like station.
Yes.
It wouldn't necessarily be something that they need to like join in and kind of,
No.
okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so some other communities, I've talked with a lot of other communities have undergone self-evaluations recently, and we've been taking a lot of advice from Littleton. The ADA coordinator there did a really cool public outreach where they set up like booths over the summer at their like farmer's market type of thing. Yeah. And it's just giving information that this is what our plan is and this is what we want to move forward with. And what do you think, basically? Yeah.
I appreciate the intensity of this examination. As the town owns all the museums, did you know that? They are town properties. And then there's a special set of rules for historical properties. So it's a lot that you've gone through. I can't wait to see the report.
Were you around at the museum when the consultant came in?
I was at the Welcome Center when the Welcome Center Museum,
Yeah.
when they came in. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And luckily our consultant has like a historic buildings like expert, just because so many of our facilities are historic, and that adds like a whole nother like very complicated layer to the ADA. Yeah. And it's our town has our own code regarding the ADA. So we have to take that regarding historic buildings. So we have to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah. Excuse me, I went to a planning committee, something or other, for the county a couple weeks ago. And they were basically kind of trying to do the same thing, kind of get feedback from the public about their future plans for the county. And I found it to be really, really educational. And I think that a lot of the public showed up, A, because of word of mouth, B, because there was food, and C, because I think there was like visuals everywhere, and there was a really legible idea that I could grasp, because I don't know anything about, ADA. So I think it's important to kind of put it into the public's language in order for us to understand the true plans, because sometimes it's intimidating to, get educated. And so to make it open is really important. But I think it'd be a really good idea to get the public's feedback just to see, what we want to,
For
or
sure.
what we, what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, to find out what the community, if they're in agreement with, where we think the priorities are, I think is a good goal to have. All right.
I do have one thing.
Yes.
We met Julia Ray from Move United spoke with us last week, and she was saying that there was only like one hotel in town that was really useful for some of the athletes that were coming to participate.
All right.
With the findings of all of the things that we're learning about ADA, would there be a way to encourage like any new builds in town to follow a different standard to be more accessible?
With the project that we're working on currently, it is to ensure that the town is compliant with the current law. I don't see, why we couldn't encourage private businesses around town to maybe want to go above and beyond. Because the law is actually very basic in the requirements for disabled persons. And so anything that any private business could do, even above and beyond what the law is definitely worth pursuing. So I don't know that we have any, pull or sway over them, but hopefully when they see what the town is doing, they'll be encouraged to follow suit.
Yeah, I think it just encouraging people to realize that this town's not just like, for the lack of a better description, like just able-bodied people.
Mhm.
So building things for people who you imagine as skiers, snowboarders, mountain bikers, whatever,
Yeah.
whomever, sorry. But just making sure that the adaptability side is there for anybody who would want to come participate in our activities here.
I think that the consultants mentioned this as well, because our town has that long history of wanting to include persons with disabilities in the outdoor sports with the Outdoor Education Center. And also I'm sorry, what was it? Move
United.
United. They are really through the Breckenridge Nordic Center, right?
I'm
That
not
where they do the majority of their
Through the Haverford Ski Spectacular that
Hartford.
comes annually.
Yeah. Well, they do a lot of their events at the Breckenridge Nordic Center. It's been a long-standing partnership. So I think that our town is light years ahead of some other mountain towns in that regards, but obviously there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, Jay. I'm wondering, within our building code, we do have certain ADA requirements, but I'm wondering in our planning code for at least town-owned or developed housing projects, we always ensure, I don't know if it's by code that a certain percentage of units are truly fully ADA compliant, but how does that apply to private multifamily builds?
If you're doing any type of permitting for builds in the county, and I don't know Breckenridge specific, but countywide permitting currently holds ADA compliance laws in it. So any new construction, like everything that goes through has been already updated to what the 2010 laws are. So again, I don't know the whole scope for what Breckenridge is planning, which might Scott could maybe illuminate on, but if you're doing anything that requires permitting, so new builds or renovations, it is all built into ADA, or ADA is built into code. That's my husband.
I'll clarify a little bit further on that, in that as far as staff, with this project that I'm speaking about today, on our team, we do have one of our building inspectors is a part of our team. And there's a whole nother set of, books that has to do with building code and ADA. And as far as that part goes, it really only addresses the building. And like I mentioned, like for our self-evaluation, we're talking about, 5 different areas. And obviously the buildings are, and how they're built is a huge part of being accessible. But yeah, the building codes would only address that one section. So.
I just have like a side comment. I don't know if it's super pertinent, but I'm just hearing everybody and listening to my coworkers. I'm like, oh, like my brother, cousin, father coming in. Maybe making a list and doing some research within the town of Breckenridge and Summit County. I don't know which subcommittee that would go to, but I'm doing some research on hotels and where to stay and kind of having the list ready for anyone that's like, hey, where should my brother stay? So I just think that'd be a cool option.
I believe the Breckenridge Tourism Office is working on something like that.
That's awesome.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
With what Julia said last week, even with that, there's a limited number of units per space. So it would be like requesting a specific room at these facilities to have a room with proper ADA accessibility. Because it's not every unit not every unit in a place is capable.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to staff summary, there's really no update there, but then moving on again to social equity discussion.
Yeah. I just want to take the time to thank Jason and Joyce for all their help and to welcome our new members. Issa, welcome back. And
Good
Joe
point.
Twan isn't here today, but I look forward to meeting him in January. when he
Yeah.
comes.
Thank you so much, Jason and Joyce. Really, really appreciate it. And I think we couldn't have done this without you. You guys were like pillars to our commission from the beginning. So awesome. So we're going to talk about commissioner appointments. We have 2 new staff. Well, we're looking through interviewing processes and you were on the committee for that, right?
Yes, so we have
Yes.
selected.
I was gonna say, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So in the memo, it sums up a little bit of the background on the interview process
Mhm.
and the candidates that the selection committee, which was June, Eliana, Mac, and me.
Mhm.
So we'll be welcoming, we're glad Isara's here with us today, and their term will formally start in January.
Mhm. Awesome. Anything else? Do you want to add to that?
Yes, there were, the field of candidates was wide and it was all good. We really liked everyone we did interview. And, there are some that I think we'd like to encourage to, if they want to further their participation, take a look at our, subcommittees and see how they can join us that way.
Thank you very much. Moving forward with chair and vice chair appointment, each December, the commission appoints a new leadership role for the upcoming year. I don't want to say thank you to myself, but thank you to me and Jordan for our time served. So what we'll do is we'll take nominations and then we'll vote together as a commission. Are we going to do that for this meeting? Yeah, okay, awesome. Does anyone want to go first with nomination?
Well, first, should we throw it out there if anyone's interested?
Oh yeah, let's throw it out there.
Serving the position or continuing to serve?
I'd like to be chair or vice chair.
I nominate Jordan for chair. I personally think it's time for me to step down as chair. Is that okay with you guys?
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
But yeah, I think it's time for me to step down as actual chair.
Well, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Is anyone interested in chair or vice chair?
I'll be vice chair.
Yeah, we can swap. I think we've been a good team.
Yeah, I think so too.
To nominate Jay for the chair position and you for vice chair.
Second.
Gosh.
All right. Perfect. Easy enough. We'll just make that swap. Let's swap.
Awesome. Thank
Oh,
you.
and let's just quickly vote. So
Oh, yeah.
everyone in favor?
I
I don't think I can.
Oh, yeah. But jump in when you have comments.
Moving on. Awesome. So that's amended. Moving on to our monthly meeting updates. Our regular meetings are currently scheduled for Monday at 7:30 a.m., which is why we're here right now. As we approach the upcoming year, are there any proposed changes to this meeting time?
I forgot.
Once a month.
Mhm. Is everyone okay with this time and this
I would really appreciate.
Yeah,
If it is possible with everyone to move the date. Monday is my only day off in the week. And,
to wake up at
you know, I
7:30
have to,
instead.
you know, I don't get holidays and
Yep.
things like that. So if Wednesday at 7:30 would work for people, or any other day at that time would work for people. Again, purely selfish reason, doesn't have to happen, but
Mondays or Friday? Oh, sorry. I was asking. Within my work schedule, I work from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But we close the office every other Monday and Friday. So if it could be on Monday or a Friday, that way I would be missing less work,
right.
would be ideal. Tuesdays, we are open a little later. So if you're okay with the time on a Tuesday, then I wouldn't miss much work.
What time you open Tuesday?
10.
Oh, okay.
I think Tuesday works best for me because I have other jobs on Wednesday and Thursday as well, or Thursday and Friday as well, so.
I will not be available Tuesday,
Yeah,
Thursday. I'll be in Boulder those days teaching, so
Friday works better.
Friday's great.
I had a feeling that, I mean, I don't know my schedule quite yet, but I feel like Friday might be better for me.
If I had to choose it, I would choose a Friday.
Friday's
Tuesday I nanny and
Great.
it's not available.
Okay, so to recap, if chambers are available Friday mornings, does the group, do you want to vote on it, moving it to Friday? And if chamber isn't available, then are you okay with keeping it Monday?
I can't do Friday mornings. I have my
Oh.
other job.
Do you want to do a doodle poll just to kind of collective availability? And
And then we can get input from Joe Twan too. I
Just
guess.
one, yeah.
Mhm.
he's the soccer coach at the high school.
Mm.
And it's.
No,
he-
he's not
Or okay,
Not,
okay.
he's not,
Okay.
he's what I do, so I pretty much know his schedule.
Cool.
And we could do. both of those.
So
So doodle poll it is. Cool.
doodle poll, but I think we're heavily weighted towards Friday.
Yeah, except for Eliana, which we would want you to be there. Okay. Also, additionally, we're noting that January's meeting falls on the 15th, which is the day the town took an observance for Martin Luther King Day. Now, this might not be a problem, just depending on this new situation if we do change the day. However, if it's not changed, we're seeking to move the meeting to the 8th or the 22nd. And those are both Mondays. So which would y'all prefer? I am cool with whatever.
Raise your hand if the 8th is more preferred for you. All right, 22nd.
22nd it
Okay.
On that Monday scheduling.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
that was easy. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Moving forward to subcommittee updates. Starting with celebrating diversity, which I am on that subcommittee. We compiled a concise calendar for our monthly recognitions and planned events. Mac, are you by chance gonna pull up that?
Share that.
Awesome, thank you. So we would love y'all's input to enhance the collaboration with basically other subcommittees to ensure the unified celebration throughout 2024. So what we want to do is we want to review the calendar included in the packet. And then if you guys have any more ideas or anything that you want to share, let us know.
Bottom left, Mac. It's like the bottom left window on the share, I think it was.
Excuse me.
Looks like it's sharing, but I also realize
Yeah, no, you're
only
good.
one of those TVs is on. Yeah, okay. I'm not tech savvy.
While we wait.
On that, we can do a Braille update.
Yeah, so it's gonna be held on January.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we go back to the calendar?
Oh, sure.
Is there no I in proclamation?
Not this proclamation. It's a different
Just
proclamation.
correct that before.
Can
Spread
do.
it out more. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna go back to the calendar.
Okay, we're gonna actually go back to the calendar.
No, I'm just asking, just,
Oh.
you wanna go braille.
Well, I just want to give Max some time. I don't want you to be under pressure.
Okay.
So if we could
Yeah.
do the braille and then circle back to the
Yeah.
calendar, just so you have enough time to do what you gotta do. Do you guys want to give a braille update or do you?
We don't have a whole lot at the moment,
Sure.
but it is gonna be on January 4th, from 4:30 to 6 o'clock at the Breck Public Library. And we will have, in attendance, Julia from the Colorado Center of the Blind to present history and the application of Braille, accompanied by flashcards and children's books. We'll have Lydia from the BOEC to discuss adaptive skills and wilderness programming. And we'll have Danny York back, who we just met, to provide some insights on the town's ADA audit. So it'll be a really fun event. I hope everyone can
Yeah,
come.
and that's awesome. It sounds like things really have come together with that. And it's from 4:30 to 6, by the way, at the library. So
And Mac, did you get responses to the draft of our flyer? The
I'm gonna work with Brooke a little later today
Uh-huh.
to make sure that that is good. And none of you, the whole commission, got the flyer just because it was the draft. But we didn't receive any edits
Was this-
from
yeah.
Colorado Center for the Blind or BOEC on it. So whatever edits Brooke has. Once that flyer is finalized this afternoon, I'll send it out to all of you as well. And we'll start sharing it around town.
Cool.
Yeah.
thank you so much. Circling back to the calendar, what we want to do is we want to review it. And if you guys have any ideas for a more inclusive and coordinated approach, please let us know. And are we doing this in real time or we want to do it? I guess it's up to us. Yeah, so if we want to, we can review it together right now. If you guys don't feel that that's necessary and you kind of want to take a more individual approach, we can all review it and then share our feedback a different way.
Let's start now, and then if anyone has additional thoughts after simmering on it, they can
Sounds good.
email it out.
Awesome.
Um,
So for January, starting with January, we have our equity blueprint and our community gathering. And that's just going to be like a coffee talk situation, as well as kind of just reviewing our equity blueprint. Can you speak to that a little bit
Yeah,
more?
so the way that that group formed this calendar is that anything on that first column underneath the name of the month is what we're going to be celebrating. So for January, we don't have a specific like awareness for that main month. So we're going to take the time to push out the equity blueprint pending its approval on the January 9th meeting with town council. So for that one, we would be trying to have all the commissioners meet, and given the timing, we might have to push the coffee talk to February, but our main focus for January is going to be getting the blueprint out to the community and our partners. So that kind of helps structure that. February is our Black History Month, so we're aiming to do a video. We'll have a proclamation with correct spelling for Barney Ford Day Black History Month, and then planning an education event. So that helps you kind of see that structure. I know this group wanted all the subcommittees to look at the calendar and see if there's something that's important to your group that in looking at here, you would like to step in and it not just be celebrate diversity. So
Yeah.
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, so when it says like video, that's kind of like what we've chosen to do for that month or for that recognition. And then I guess moving forward after that is like why, so Pride or Pacific Islander Month or things like that. And then what it focuses on, education or fun or whatever. So looking at this, does anyone have any low hanging fruits that they want to talk about or any edits or does it look good to you?
I think that, thanks for putting the calendar together. I think it's incredibly helpful, just everyone to see what's coming up. So Mac talked about all the subcommittees knowing what's upcoming, going on, but also this is a tool to see where our resources are being used. So we look at Pride Month in June, we know that is a big event that takes a lot of resources. So if civic engagement wanted to do a community gathering around then, like that is not the best month. So it also helps us plan ahead. Mac, one thing that might be helpful is to label and organize the columns. So we have a idea of what's involved with each celebration, like certain things like if social media posts are planned, that's unless it's also creating a video, it's a pretty low labor intensive thing to create. So I think separating the columns where if it's a video, we know that needs to be created, social media post, if that's planned, proclamation is something that Mac is likely to have to draft and this group to review. But does everyone know what a proclamation is?
Yes.
So it's a proclamation is kind of a ceremonial declaration.
Sure.
On different days, either acknowledging a day or proclaiming a certain day, something. So it's very ceremonial. It's something that the mayor does during the regular meeting at town council.
Okay, cool.
And there's also a written proclamation for Barney Ford Day. This year, we got the proclamation signed by the mayor. It's on town stationery. And we framed it and it's hanging in the museum. So it's a nice thing to save in the social equity portfolio.
I love that. Yeah. Awesome.
I guess to just give more on July, the like Show Us Your Brick campaign, like the whole thought for that was like to reach out to the like other community members and to get us to show us what they see brick as, like all the pictures with them and their friends throughout town and kind of just all their experiences here.
Yeah.
Which one was that one?
The Show Us Your Brick.
And what would we do? Would it be social media? Okay.
Yeah, just like a collection of just
Photos
images and
and-
yeah, because that way as a group, if we ever need images of people doing things in Breck, we'd have our, like, we'd hopefully could collect a lot of diversity, both through families and like friend groups of all the people who've come here to visit over a vast number of years, because you never know like what black and white photo someone will have. Like, wow, that building hasn't been here. Especially with like stuff like the horseshoe coming back and other historic places in town. It'd be cool. Yeah.
Horseshoe.
It'd be really cool to see what we could get from that.
I'm wondering, why isn't the Braille event under January?
That was oversight on my part. But that one is January 4th. So when I update this, I'll make sure that that's reflected on there too.
Okay, yeah, and I see this as a living document. Maybe that's updated because certain things like looking ahead, like February planning event with Taj. So as things are built out, I think just a little more detail would be helpful so commissioners know if there are things to add on. One thing that I'm just looking at April and it says planning event with Elsa, who's one of our subcommittee members, but not a committee member. So with those, I want to make sure that that subcommittee or committee members have eyes on that too.
Awesome. Any other plug-ins?
Should we add like changing banners on here? Like I know we have banners
yeah.
for Black History Month and Hispanic.
Oh, that'd be a
Heritage Month.
great column. Yeah.
Like to add those in there, just so we know that there is something else happening.
Yeah.
I can put that in there too, but I know our Black History Month banners we had published last year, so that we were going to continue those. And then Hispanic Heritage Month, we have at least another 5 years of those ones. But I can put in
Just
that column in
knowing that
case we
they're
wanna
gonna
do
come up.
banners. Yeah.
Yeah, like just knowing that we have them and we're
That's
still
part of-
using them. Yeah.
Part of the celebration almost. Awesome.
I have one quick comment as well. I know, that the voter registration was iffy if we wanted to take a, a part in that. But I know at the college, we don't, we just, encourage people to vote. We
Yeah.
don't support, we don't. So, I think that's a good idea. There's a question mark, so I wasn't sure what.
Yeah, it was just like, cause with being part of the town, like we can't really suggest any
Can't pick
people.
a side, but
So
I
it's
think
more
that's
just like
something
making
you
sure
could
the information was
I think
translated
that's
for
amazing to do
people.
that.
And we can work with Helen, who runs our town elections. And see, and maybe we still have time till November, but understand what legally we can do, what legally we can't.
Yeah.
Then decide once we have that
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
basis knowledge.
So I think we've been pretty like clear on just like making sure everyone has access to information and knowing that it's available, making sure people know where to get the information that they're looking for will be, and making sure that it's translated for everyone to understand. And I think if we keep that as our basis for everything, then we'll always be headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because it's just making sure everyone understands the information that's there.
Mhm.
Equitable.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Do we need to go into this calendar more, or do we feel good about it? Sorry, I'm not necessarily sure what you guys. Cool. Okay, cool. Moving forward to community influence and education. Do you all have an update for us?
Gloria.
You guys meet, never mind. You meet,
Oh, they met.
oh, you
They
met.
met.
I'm like, what's today?
Yes, we have an update. We, were provided 2 scripts from MAC
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
we combined them and, we're gonna present those. They're not coming out today, are they?
If you got a chance to see it on Friday afternoon, I emailed out what this group kind of pieced together after their meeting. If you didn't get a chance to review it on Friday, pull it up in your email, and then I know this group is looking for your feedback. So if you are not able to provide it today at this meeting, if you want to email it to me, and I'll make sure I give it out to Lori and Sylvia. So they were looking for any suggestions on the, again, this is for our mission statement video that was for the website. This group's direction changed it from just focusing on the mission statement and building a 3-minute video on that, but now serves to kind of highlight all of your subcommittee goals in this video as well that can help serve as a promotion tool for the equity blueprint as well.
And the idea is to have each of the commissioners stay aligned in this video. So the whole commission will be represented, and then we can record it all separate. Doesn't all have to be in the same day, but at least if you don't have any changes, if you would like to tell us what part you would like to read, it will be scripted because we want to make sure that the subtitles or closed captions are on there as well, and we are able to translate it as well, that video. So if you don't have any changes, if it looks good to you, at least let us know what part you would like to read off, and then we can get it all coordinated.
Mac, you said the email went out Friday.
Mhm.
I don't think I got it. Could you please send it to me?
But we feel like this is one of the main videos that we wanted to start with, and then we would start focusing a little bit more on the university of the subcommittee. So this would be the best video to start off with.
Yeah. Actually, I actually don't think I did.
I don't think we got the email. Or did no one get it? I didn't get it either.
I thought I did.
Got
Let me
it?
double check.
Yeah, it was when we talked last. Like when we had our. And do we want to choose what we're saying now?
You can.
Have to right now, once you have an opportunity to read the whole mission statement, we want to make sure we have if we want to change anything that's being said, do that first, and then we can pick which commissioner can do which.
Cool.
You know, actually, sorry, looking back, I only see the scripts. I don't see the one that's being corrected.
I just forwarded it to everybody. It came through at 1:18. The Equity, Jo Tuan and Issa were on it as well.
Well, we can troubleshoot that, but maybe
Sorry,
since
everybody.
we've changed how the equity email
is
goes.
now just, there's a reason you didn't get it. Equity's distribution chain is now Peyton, myself, Scott, and Shannon, so none of you saw it,
Okay.
so.
I just want to do the video.
But
You
I will
steal our
fix our
shine.
distribution.
Okay, awesome. So we'll circle back after everybody gets that email and kind of reviews it over. Cool. So then we can just move on to community outreach and engagement. Jay, do you want to speak a little bit on that? I know that the last time we had spoke, we really wanted to offer a valuable resource for our community partners that is accessible on the BSAC website. The guide aims to provide recommendations and considerations for equitable event planning, I should say, and ensuring inclusivity. So,
Yeah, that was so, this group is actually the exact same as Celebrate Diversity, except I'm part of this group. So we did kind of maybe stray slightly on the, community outreach and engagement. So just to explain that part a little better, we talked about creating a high level best practices for
Yeah.
creating events, everything like include the person you're celebrating, think about X, Y, and Z for outreach, but present it in a way that's not, we got this down, we know it's best, but sharing it with the community and also soliciting input from other events producers.
yes.
So we talked about developing that over the next couple of months.
Okay.
And Brooke joined us for that as well. So it was valuable input all around.
Got Brooke from doing work for a little bit.
Lucky you.
She walked by the room at the wrong time.
And on outreach, one thing that we'll continue to vet, but we talked about, especially from Brooke and Mac's input, is that how we're seeing success in our outreach. So using the example of the community conversation we had, where we did end up using a lot of paid media to get the word out, which that was maybe not the most effective, not just from bringing people in, but using the dollars we have. So we talked about the effectiveness of us spreading things within our own circles. At the community conversation, Eliana did a great job of that, you know? So moving forward, thinking about when maybe Brooke produces something that we repost it or spread the word in our own ways.
Yeah. Great idea. Moving forward again to immigration rights and advocacy. Carol, Sylvia, or Joyce, yeah. Would you all like to talk about that more? Would you?
You know, I think Max summed it up really well there,
Okay.
so I don't have much more to add. I think we are making progress within that group of really identifying those translation devices. And Mac, is that something you brought up to the BTO and they went ahead and purchased the
Yeah.
devices?
So
That's great.
I'm sending over my price breakdown to Shannon and Scott first, and then it's gonna go to SLT, but I'd had a meeting with BTO first to figure out what they have in Spanish at the Welcome Center from a previous conversation for this group. And during that time, I shared them what I'd been looking at, and they went ahead and just bought 4 for themselves. So that kind of gives us a little bit more push too to get ours. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And these are really neat. Sylvia actually used them and tried them out, but it's something the DMV uses and really at front desk type places. Maybe you can talk about what the device is. I don't know if we've told the
So
whole group.
it's about the size. It's like a pocket thing. When the DMV gal was showing it to us, they said they use it quite often, but you can pretty much change the language you want. And what I really liked about that is that there's so many different types of Spanish. So you can say Colombian Spanish, you can say Mexican Spanish or Argentinian Spanish. And so it'll relate some of the words that are not as common between those countries to change around. So it's a little bit more in-depth conversation that you can understand. And yeah, you speak into it, it translates everything, and then it has the option, the other person can read it or it talks it out loud to the other person. And then you just kind of go back and forth, which was very easy to use and handle. And I was quite impressed. Like the time, it doesn't really take that much time translating between back and forth, which was really awesome.
Wow.
It's great that you can keep like a conversation with it and you're not like waiting 20 years for it to be like, all right, and this is what this is what someone said. And you're like, all right, cool.
And the nice thing is it's its own device, so we don't have to rely on somebody coming in to town hall and having a smart device. So that was a big lean to it. We were waiting to see what business rates we could get on purchasing, but we won't be purchasing enough units to qualify for business rates. So, but we'll present to SLT where we think they should go and see if those departments want them. And
do you remember how many languages are available? So it's not
for
just Spanish,
Pocket Talk, there's 78 languages, and from there is X amount of dialects under those languages. So that was a leading one, but all of the DMVs through the state of Colorado use them. Colorado got a grant to purchase those. And then they had previously just been using Google Translate and turning their screen back and forth, but now you have this kind of like live time conversation that can happen. So that gave good sway. BTO plans to use 2 at their front desk and have 2 for events, just to see how they want to apply it and how the town thinks that we can use it as well.
you can like zoom in, so the like fonts is quite big. Like you don't have to be like, how hard is it? Because it's a smaller device versus like a screen or something. But I really like the fact that it can read out like out loud to say the stuff too.
Yeah, it's speech to text, so you don't have to rely on somebody's literacy rates as well. So that you can hear or read depending on what you need. And if you're visually impaired, you can enlarge the text too. So we're excited about that part. That
you able to hear the translation? It did translate well.
It did, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, you can choose like Colombian or because like plates was one of the words that I'm like, I don't know how exactly would you translate it in another. Like plates could be so many things. It could be a frame. It could be like so it did. So yeah, translated very well.
Yeah, so Mac referenced SLT, which is the senior leadership team, meaning the department heads of each town department. So she's going to check with them to see what's their front facing needs, to see where that device could be valuable, and also name main effort of this subgroup. Mountain Dreamers is part of this subgroup, and they have an existing community group. So in the coming months, we'd like to meet with that community group, solicit feedback from them, ask questions. So Mac's also going to check with the senior leadership team to see within their department if they have specific areas that they have questions or want input. So that's that subgroup.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anyone want to talk anymore? Cool. Moving on to civic engagement, that subcommittee recently reviewed and provided edits for the mini grant application guidelines, which is in our packet that we're looking at right now. So the next phase involves finalizing the questions on the application. Given the alignment of the mini grant process with the civic engagement tactics, the civic engagement subcommittee proposes to serve as the review committee for recommendations to the entire commission on the grant approval. Alternatively, the question is raised whether other interested commissioners should be, or I'm sorry, so basically, if other commissioners are interested in kind of being a part of that mini grant process, the question is, do we form a different subcommittee with just kind of that aligns just with the kind of the grant process, or do we want to keep it within the civic engagement?
Yeah, so
That's
we're
kind of
looking for
question.
input there.
Mhm.
The Civic Engagement Committee met and we thought this was one of the best places to initially vet any grant request. And of course, it would come up to the full commission
Mhm.
to have the full approval from. But we thought to streamline the process, that was a great place to put it. But wanted to check with any commissioners if they'd really like to be part of the process. In the packet is I think it's still somewhat draft version of the grant application. So,
Mhm.
so that's the framework that we'll be using
Mhm.
for the grants.
What do you all think? Do you think we should form a different subcommittee? Are you happy with how it is now, and maybe to let them be the reviewers of everything? How do you feel?
How does the subcommittee feel about it? Is this something, like, is it gonna bring a lot more to your projects or table? Do you feel like it should be? Or are you comfortable with the amount that, like, I don't know if you have any specific projects that you're not gonna be able to get to because you have to do this now?
Like on a rolling application, we're gonna try that out, so I don't think it'll be too much work. I mean, if we are inundated with requests, then perhaps we would need help, but I feel comfortable vetting them, and then if we need to forward them on, we can do that.
Would it be something that you vet and then decide, like, yes, you are getting this grant, or would that be something that you then bring to the whole
We bring it
commission
to
and then,
you.
okay.
Would bring it to the committee.
I feel very comfortable with that.
I think
Mhm.
if you guys wouldn't mind like the initial
Right.
process.
Just seeing, yeah.
Seeing what's up.
But I mean, as always, we're all available, so if it is. No, but if you get encumbered, I'm I'm available to help where needed, always.
Okay, cool. So then it's decided. You all can be the vetting process. And then we'll go from there. And then regarding the grant process, again, we are proposing a change in email communication. We're basically suggesting to update the contact email to bsac@townofbreck.com for general communications with commissioners. While MAC is the recipient for the equity related issues on the equity at Town of Breck side. Do we have any thoughts on that?
So that was essentially updating what we already talked about. So equity@townofbreckenridge.com is an email that we push out to the public. We want to
Correct.
hear feedback
Mhm.
from. So in the past, we discussed having those emails go to MAC
Mhm.
initially.
Mhm.
If sometimes it's things where it's a very technical question and MAC can answer right away. If it's logistics, all that, they would still be batched,
Mhm.
like if at the end of the month and come to us. So there is a discussion item, like we discuss it and we
Right.
all see those emails. So that was just kind of aligning what we had already talked about. The other email is an internal distribution list that sends, does it work for people externally if you don't have a Town of Breck email? If you write bsac@townofbreck.com, it's just an easier way instead of just typing everyone's email address.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I fully understand, but that's okay.
BSAC would go to all of us
Yeah.
directly.
So the
see what
idea
you're
that
saying.
this group had talked about would be like, for example, when I email out the packets or, the failure of the script, I just type in equity
Mhm.
and it goes out to all of you.
Right.
If we are going to be using equity at Town of Breckenridge's email to promote on a larger side for like the grants, you would all be receiving that email if somebody emailed it,
Okay.
not just me or.
Yeah,
The
so
question
at,
is to change it to.
at the town council level, that is also the same way. I mean, town council gets a note, well, it's council at Town of Breckenridge or mayor at townofbreckenridge.com. And then Peyton kind of handles the back end of that and decides, okay, this is worthy of you all filling up your inbox with this information versus some of the cold calls and random emails that, kind of there's a phishing approach to, there's a live email address. So I think the reason why Friday's email didn't go to all to everyone here is because we'd already made that switch such that you didn't get all the cold calls. I don't know if you received the email last week that was like, hey, bid on our project, or we get
Yeah.
to, it was kind of something that
It's like
had
a
nothing.
marketing materials.
Yeah, so we were
Great.
trying to minimize what came to you and allow Mac to kind of handle the back end of those. And so that they came, so rather than you all receiving a bunch of emails and then pretty much it becomes background noise, is that
Yeah.
we would only forward things on to you that were, public inquiries or questions or things that we wanted to make sure you were aware of. So that was sort of the approach that we had taken, which is again why Friday didn't work as well as you wanted to, because we'd already made that switch since you didn't receive those.
Okay. I understand more.
So it'd be more just internally, you would all just be getting, like, instead of sending out equity, I would just type in BCAC and then any emails that I received at equity, I would forward to BCAC.
When they're
Um,
appropriate. or they're needed.
Correct. So that way, again, you're not spammed and also,
Yeah.
And we coordinate our response.
Yeah. We have like a whole.
yeah.
Yeah. All in favor. Yeah.
So the equity ones come to Mac and a few other folks. I think it's Peyton, Shannon, and me.
Yep.
and Mac. So 4 of us. Those
Yeah.
will be maybe the typical more spam ones, and the ones that say BSEAC at, it'll be just for you all and your level.
And to be clear, where are people sending the grant applications?
It would go to equity,
Equity.
which is
Equity,
why
which is
we
what you're
wanted to
getting.
be proactive and make the switch if it needed to happen, because if all of a sudden we get a huge spike of grant applications, you would all be seeing it.
Yeah.
And it's not something necessarily all of you need to look at the original correspondence. It would be more, I received those, verify that their applications are filled and hits everything, pull those, send it to civic engagement. Civic engagement will make its recommendations on, do we even want to support this agency? What type of dollar amount would we recommend? And then their recommendations goes to the whole commission to vote on. So you would still see like what the ask was, what this commission decided, or the subcommittee decided to approve or wants to recommend to approve. And then this whole group would vote on it. And then I would reply back under the equity email to that agency. So therefore, it's not just coming to like Mac at Town of Breck. It's coming out of a united.
Basically, it's streamlining the
Yep.
entire process. And then same thing, equity is the email that we want to push out when we want community feedback so in many different ways. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for divulging in that. Cool. So then moving on to equity blueprint.
Yeah, so. Sorry, let me flip the next
intro.
page.
Is amazing. Like the land acknowledgement.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you. Yeah,
so-
that was, joint effort. It went to both Larissa, my boss, the executive director, and to me, and we kind of pulled from our own document.
Couple of the big changes to the equity blueprint. So we've made the changes from our last meeting. One of the biggest changes to the introduction, I incorporated all of Shannon's edits to it. So what you received last Wednesday has reflection of Shannon's edits. One of the biggest changes that I would like specific feedback on is we included a land use acknowledgement instead of just having a sentence acknowledging that we have historical inequities. This land acknowledgement is drafted utilizing part of Breck Histories approved language, and then also what the Colorado Tribes Association recommends as well. The theme in most equity blueprints that I've reviewed from multiple states is that you either have a historical section of your blueprint that outlines all historical inequities or utilizes a land acknowledgement. That's something that Shannon and I felt more comfortable doing land acknowledgement. And then again, having Breck history, Larissa O'Neill, Susan Gilmore, who many of you remember from our Indigenous peoples video, vetted and approved this as well for us. So my biggest question is, are there any changes? Like, how do you feel about the incorporation of the land acknowledgement? If you would like to hear a little bit more behind my reasoning behind it, let me know. Otherwise, just the general thought was it is consistent in most blueprints, and this way, if we tried to identify everybody that we've marginalized in the past, we will undoubtedly miss someone and create more backlash than what we were trying to achieve. So how do you feel about the incorporation of it?
I feel very positive about it.
I think it's important.
Agreed. And I think also having it in our equity blueprint, it is not just a bunch of empty words. It is actionable information. So I think it's better than most.
I think folks that have like worked in equity before, this is super common thing, and I think looking at it, they'll be like, oh, cool. And that's about it. I don't think they backlash for clicking it.
Yeah, and part of Summit County Government's equity blueprint includes publishing land use acknowledgement like plaques and putting it in all county-wide public places. So this would be something that Elizabeth has already asked us, like, well, what do you have? And are you going to be doing that? So this could stem to serve that piece in our collaboration with the county government. The next part is, again, changing the.
Maybe, sorry to stop you there, Max. So this is the first time as a group we've talked about land acknowledgement. So maybe a future item. I know it's came up, like people are like, oh, should we do land acknowledgements at the beginning of events, like things like that. So maybe for either celebrate diversity or at some point, let's have some part of the commission just talk about it a little more and then see what recommendations they have for town as a whole on land acknowledgements.
Thank you, Carol.
And looking back at the calendar, like we do have some room in July. Maybe that like sort of July is already used for celebrating other things. We might as well celebrate the town too.
Yeah, I was
And-
thinking an internal conversation and
yeah.
then maybe that is part of the actionable item, but yeah.
As far as the place we had some room.
Our first time using a land acknowledgement was during Pride. Our Pride consultant, Dean Nelson, had requested from Breck History their land acknowledgement, and we opened Pride with that. But we haven't applied it since, and honestly wouldn't think about it prior to our consultant bringing that up. But I'll make sure that this goes up to that Celebrate Diversity so that we can have that conversation on what you would like to see. Just because it's part of the county government's goal doesn't mean that this is something that if this group doesn't feel like we should, like we can explore that in that conversation too. Next changes to that is, again, the intro now has all of Shannon's edits reflected in it. Are there any changes specifically that you want made to our introduction, which is predominantly just this paragraph, and then the rest of our intro gets broken down into, again, our starting point, which provides context to how we got here, and then our path forward, which is how we'll be reporting out.
So breaking it up, so it's interesting, the our starting point, our path forward, introduction, that should either be reflected in the table of contents, because right now it's all under introduction, and also taking it back a step, reading everything, it's the intro is incredibly repetitive. So if you look at the second half of the introduction, certain thing like nationally renowned equity consultant, the equity project, that exact line is repeated again. And in this intro, it's not when I say intro, I mean these first 5 slides. It's not incredibly long. It's not incredibly detailed. So I think we can make it a bit easier to read by not being so repetitive. And it might be the nature of, it is a little tough to read in the landscape format, but I think that is our form and that's fine. But we are going for that kind of shortened version. And also on readability, maybe take a scan and see, sometimes we use the town, sometimes we use our. So make
Mhm.
sure that language is consistent. And again, on the repetition, it seems like we mentioned the equity project in the second half of the intro. The second slide is largely about the equity project. And then the fourth slide on like Cornerstone's work is again, equity project. I think those three different sections can be combined into one, where it outlines what we've done with the equity project. And then it's not so repetitive, where we mention and quickly define either the equity lens or equity blueprint. What else? So another comment just for readability. I think it's nice how you wrote, maybe on the second or third, you say, this one, down one, how you outline Social Equity Advisory Commission. It's very clear. And then you define what it does. I think it would be helpful to mimic that format for the internal DEI committee, because the DEI committee is more paragraph form. And even with this, those two bullets call out exactly what's written in the resolution. So I don't know if that's necessary. So you can combine one page with BSAC and then one, and under it have the DEI committee. I think that would be clear and easy to read, understanding that there's two clear groups for these groups, two clear groups for each section. And then finally, the accountability slide, the last slide, which I think is important to include. One thing we had talked about as a group is making it very clear, like we're publishing this blueprint now, but this doesn't mean that we've done nothing since 2020, that we have been actively working on all these goals. And I think that's an incredibly important message that either we should incorporate somewhere within the intro, or we make sure on outreach efforts that that is clear and highlighted.
Work to date since 2020 before you get into path forward. So we've accomplished this much, and now going forward, here's what we plan to do. Is that what you're saying?
And I don't know if that's kind of hits our community impact report, which touches on what we've already accomplished, but without getting into everything and listing everything. Exactly, just making it clear, like, this isn't, we're not just starting right now, like all these tactics, like we've made significant progress on a lot of them. It is ongoing. And the reason for publishing now is just share with the community, solicit more input.
I like that.
Because with a lot of our plans, like we don't act on it till it's published. Like this isn't the case here. And to make that clear.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say this blueprint is a culmination of some of the work that's already occurred?
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to put it. And I think with this, I mean, there's so much work gone into this. So the intro is just that summary, but as we'll talk about the implementation plan, like this really is a communications tool. So making sure that our intro just is very high level, what we've done, what we are, where we were, where we're going, just like that quick summary.
Yeah, like why we're here, where we're going, or
Mhm.
you know, where we were, whatever. Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Implementation plan.
Well, before that, I got as well, we updated out that terminology. So I went through every page, pulled out only the terms that are used in here. And that is now what's here. So we took out whatever supporting context definitions we had. So now our terminology is just those 2 pages. I'd like to see if you had a chance to read the definitions that we're utilizing. Or again, if there's changes that you'd like, or again, anything clarified.
I did a search. I couldn't see, we define cultural competence and it's not mentioned anywhere in the blueprint.
That is part of the internal or organizational side, is doing the competence or cultural competency trainings.
And I think that might have been worded different, or
I'm wondering if I
because I
put
did a
cultural
control F and I couldn't.
competence C versus competence. That might, okay, I can correct that one.
And I think it might not even have been competence. It might have been like awareness. It might have been something else. So recheck that section.
Yeah. Okay, that was
Man, good catch.
competence, yeah.
And this is we put so much
Yeah.
effort into this, so we do want to make sure that we get it right. And it'll never be perfect, but it'll be pretty good.
If you have anything to do with it,
It'll be perfect.
okay. Oh,
And
go
then
ahead.
if we do remove those two bullets under what the BCAC Commission does, I can't remember which two terms are only mentioned within those two bullets. So if we do delete those, then look at those. You might have to remove a term or two.
Yes, Eliana.
Recommendation I had is, I think it's on like page 27, but it says BTO, and I think reading that from an outside perspective, because there's no definition, or like BSAEC is explained in this, but
Uh-huh.
BTO would be cool to just like parentheses kind of. Not parentheses.
The
Oh,
first
yeah.
bullet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Finding our
You got
acronym.
this.
Yeah, acronyms are
Oh.
rough. And maybe even if you want to, like, on the bottom of where it says BSEC, on like certain pages, you could put on the bottom of like what it says. It explains it up top, but sometimes it helps. So, I've seen that before.
Cool. Moving on to the metric. Yeah, for immigration subcommittee.
Yeah, one of the things that Shannon had caught was in our metric under our immigration rights and advocacy, we do have the track total monetary value contributed to community partners towards immigrant services. This was set before we had really developed out the idea of doing a mini grant. So one of the questions I wanted to pose to this group, specifically immigration, but then would like it to open it to the whole commission, is does that metric still feel relevant? Or should we move this to civic engagement and drop immigration services specifically and just track our kind of monetary value contributed to community partners for the whole entire commission? Or do you think that it can be supported under both? Like we can track whatever grants we give to immigration services to be a metric for immigration rights and advocacy. But again, now that we have that mini grant process in work, and again, that falls to civic engagement, should those be moved? So I'll first open it to immigration, see what your subcommittee feels, and then weigh the whole commission.
I think as we've gotten into the tactics, I don't think that is a valuable
Yeah.
metric for that group. So I think exactly what you said, Mac, we can remove it from immigration and then reword it for civic engagement.
Okay, thank you. And then I will open up to any general changes or recommendations you have that I did not think pose a question specifically to you for.
I always been saying, and I know you guys remember this, and when we started all the abbreviations and all this stuff, I have always told them to make them like either crochet or whatever specific, because it's a lot of people that if this is gonna go to the public, including myself, it's a bunch of stuff that I don't get what it is. And a regular person that is not involved with all this wouldn't know what it is. Like I was telling them, you will know this, like ADA to me was American Dental Association. So I was like, okay, what's the American Dental Association? So it's something that for regular people is not clear. So I feel like that is very good to know and be very specific, especially for people that doesn't know these things.
Yeah.
Would you rather I type out instead of including any acronyms, whether they're defined earlier on or not, just type out the entire name. So
You can
anytime,
put the whole name and maybe the abbreviation on the side.
so
Parentheses or-
for example, if I've
Just no
got,
acronyms, because it's.
Like, what's your take, Lisa? So, we use, Breckenridge Social Equity Advisory Commission is such a mouthful, and I think that one we use very often, and we
Like,
try
it's
to define it early. Like, do you think we should, would it be more clear? We continue to write it out, or do you think that one is
You
okay
know,
to
that's
abbreviate?
for Americans.
Yeah.
You guys tend to sensitize everything, like make it smaller and
Uh-huh.
it sounds simple to you guys. But me as Mexican, we
Okay.
never do that in our language ever.
Okay,
So it's as an immigrant and used to read the whole thing, to me is never like, oh, make it short and simple. That doesn't work for me,
Okay.
my Mexican perspective point of
Uh-huh.
view. So to me, reading the whole thing is okay. And if you put I feel like that way is better with the BSAC at the end, is better. So
if I only put BCAC on another page, like it's spelled out again here, but
Yeah.
then like right here, it isn't. Is
yeah, is that,
that,
it's understandable there.
okay, but
Because
if
I'm
I
saying-
don't have it defined,
A completely separate page and all you have is the
Mm.
short term, then
okay,
I
that
don't think
makes
it
sense.
would be.
Anna said could work then, just doing like an asterisk on that page still and just putting what those would be.
Oh, on the bottom.
Mhm.
Yeah, like a watermark.
Like a, yeah, footer.
Once again, it goes back to who's reading that and what point they really focus on. Because
It takes your eyes away from what you're reading to have to see an acronym, look down at the bottom of the page to see what it means, and then go back up to the information as well.
So do we think what would be best, or just the first time it is mentioned, long form?
I just don't think we should have acronyms.
remove acronyms altogether.
probably not, yeah, I always recommend that. Yeah, because I don't know, what's your
I'm wondering.
part of Mexican point of view?
Well, I actually, I'm not very good at spelling or grammar, but I know more in English than I know Spanish, just because I kind of grew up more here.
Mm.
But I would say just to be safe on every aspect, just having the full word there is always easier for everybody.
But maybe a suggestion on a page like this, which has that spelled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Maybe it's every page has the parentheticals and then you can have it afterwards. Does that feel like a good? Because otherwise you're gonna have a long text
Yeah.
Like the first time it's mentioned on a page?
on each page. Does that feel?
Probably on each page, the first one, and then just do it. But
Does
be
you think that
specific.
reaches the point?
Yeah,
I think there's like if we can keep your eye line the same, so like if it's written out the first time and then it's in parentheses, and then after that, if it's abbreviated, then you've already kind of got
Yeah.
what it is, and you're not going BCX. Okay, this is what it means, and then back up to where you were. I think it might just kind of keep with the flow of what you're reading a little easier.
Per page.
Yeah, per
Yeah.
page. I can do that.
So then you only have to edit once.
yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for that. That's like I never thought of that.
Did you ask about the photos? I think that makes sense. Thanks for consolidating it to one page. Let's start with the chair and vice chair and then put me as town council rep. Like add representative.
Perfect. And then I will aim to get Jo Tuan and Issa's photos up there.
Is it
Um,
liaison? Is that the right phrase?
Let me look at the ordinance and see what it's.
We also have down here on the acknowledgements, we just added town council, but I can, whatever we change to that picture, I can change down here as well. But under Aaron and Dick, we just put town council.
But look, it doesn't call out either, whatever you think makes more sense. Rep or liaison, whichever.
Scott, what do you
I think
prefer
we've
to?
used liaison for,
Okay.
LoSAC is the phrase we use for most, you know,
Okay.
Jeffrey is the liaison.
Uh-huh.
I think it's,
But yeah.
Okay. I don't know if our other like big documents like this have that called out.
Not in, I'm just scanning the ordinance that created this commission and we just,
Okay.
there'll be, what does it say representative or does it?
it doesn't say anything. It just says town council member.
We can go with liaison to be consistent with both.
I don't have a
I feel like
strong
you're a
opinion.
liaison. for
Uh-huh.
sure.
I like the way it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds, yeah, it sounds legit.
Town council member, but that's less, sounds less nice. So we can change liaison and then I'll put liaison at the acknowledgement page as well for Aaron, Dick, and yourself then.
Yes.
And then that got swapped to be first names alphabetical instead of last names alphabetical.
Ask about that. Is
Yeah.
that? I've not seen it that way.
I always go last name
Yeah.
alphabetical, but if the last name doesn't go first, then I can see the confusion. So that was one recommendation Shannon had was
Mhm.
just go first names and go alphabetical.
Either way, I'm at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Technically,
Second to
well,
last.
yeah, you're consistent across the board, Sylvia.
A lot farther down on this list than I normally am.
How's it feel?
All right. Okay, so I will make the changes to the intro and I will email it out to this group most likely tomorrow because I do want to make sure that I've got time to get whatever edits you have to that back into the document before council. Because council maybe I will be giving it to their packet on the 3rd. So just keep your eye out for those changes and then whatever you have recommendation wise, if you could get that to me as soon as you could, I would appreciate it. Cause again,
And Mac, maybe just for process. So I think the intro, we're all aligned on the general content is
Mhm.
great, but just making sure we have full commission approval for
Mhm.
this most finalized version before it goes to council. So for streamlining, maybe, and then Scott, do you think it makes sense if Mac sends it to like you, Shannon and me to,
Version.
not for the final version before we get the full commission approval?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like
The
we would love to be able to go to council and say the commission approved. this
Yeah.
version. There's a, consensus that this is the best version that we have.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking.
I'm asking if, before we have the full commission look at it, maybe you, Shannon and I, will prioritize this to get it to just a closer version so that we can provide those initial edits before the full commission
Yeah.
provides any more edits.
Yeah.
To get it a little closer.
So then how does the commission review the final version? Do we do it via email?
I think via email and,
Yeah.
do
Everyone's
an
okay with
email
that?
vote.
I feel like we're close, but we just need a few minor edits here and
Yeah.
there. Great.
Perfect. All right. So that is, unless you have anything else you'd like to weigh in on of the entirety of the document, otherwise, in your, sorry, scroll up to the memo side. I included a high level view of what our implementation plan is, and then Brooke and I will kind of fill in a little bit more of the specifics after we kind of hear what your input is here. So wanted to show you kind of what our main approaches are going to be for this. Again, our main objective is awareness of the equity blueprint for the town of Breckenridge. So that's going to be partners and residents. If there is any specific objective you would like us to incorporate, but feel like we're missing, please let me know. But our main approach was going to be awareness. we'd like to, again, have that commission gathering either in January ideally or early February if that January time slot's a little pressed, to really start the conversation around the blueprint and showing what it is. We're going to be doing social media posts with it. We'll float a press release out there and then try to get that to be picked up by Summit Daily versus doing paid marketing. One of the big things we talked about was doing a 2-minute interview to highlight the blueprint. So I would need a volunteer from the commission for that. And then doing a sit down with Summit County TV as well. So ideally I would like to have 2 commissioners for that and then 1 for the Mountain TV segment. One of the things we had also talked about was doing a video per subcommittee, like a very short one, but wondering too, if we do the mission statement video first that includes your subcommittee goals, if you'd feel comfortable just using that instead of then coordinating 5 new videos instead of the 1. We'll be putting it on the Town of Breck's website and then also on the BCAC website and starting to promote that information out. I'm planning a big partner meeting late January now, and that will be anybody working in equity and then the towns as well. And then working with local businesses to put out, I'll create a single infographic page that we can share that highlights the whole blueprint, but as a much scaled down piece and then link to it. So we'll share that out with businesses and then share it to the commissioners so that you can hopefully repost it as well. So again, those are the highest forms of what we're looking, and then we'll fill in the details as we go. But I wanted the commission to see kind of what our initial plan for this is, because we are coming up close to it. So if you have any specific feedback that you would like us to consider for what our main objectives for this blueprint launch would be, we want to give it its due credit and make the noise that it just, desperately deserves. But we also want to be strategic as well. So do you have any? Go ahead.
I'll volunteer for video parts.
Thank you. I mean, as the new chair, you kind of assumed you.
Pretty good with the videos that I've had to film or gotten to film, not had to. I've really liked it, everything that we've done. Working with Susan was probably one of the more fun ones because I didn't know any of that stuff going into it.
Any other nomination for video spot?
They're gonna be scripted as they were gonna have that.
Maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
One with Mountain TV, I could get you a script for, but the sit down won't be. I'll have general talking points I can provide you, but
I'm good now. I think that was our biggest issue is always I'm like, okay, I wrote everything I want to say. Can I just read it? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay.
it is a little tough. And there's a reason I'm behind the camera and not standing next to you.
At a high level with the objective, I would think about slightly changing what our main objective is, because I think the blueprint is a tool in general to amplify what this commission has done, what the town has done internally. I don't think the end mission is let's give attention to the blueprint, but the blueprint is, we're approving it. It's a kind of timely tool for a reason. Introduce the commission. And I think Brooke and I kind of talked about this, but that instead of the blueprint is the blueprint. It's our tactics, it's our goals, it's an important document, but to make sure that we capture the work has been ongoing, that message, that it's not about getting media attention to the blueprint. It's about getting attention to everything this commission has done, that the town has done internally.
A tool to achieve the mission.
Yeah, to raise awareness about what we've done internally, what we've done externally, also soliciting more input and partnerships, because if we're doing a pitch to the Summit Daily, we've seen the headlines where it's easily misconstrued. Like it could be like, after 3 years, like commission finalizes document, and like, that's not the story there. So I think we need to be very mindful how we're presenting it. And also the combination of like, we're presenting our plan, what we're doing, that we know we're going to continue, like we want feedback, we want input, we know we need to be nimble and we're going to modify our goals. So to make sure that we acknowledge like there's great work being done across the county, we're proud of what we're doing, like we hope to partner more. I think very carefully crafting in that is important.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah. Anybody else feel good?
You need a video person on.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you. And then upcoming council items. Sorry, we're a little over our time now. Oh, sorry. Scott, do you want to brief on what's coming up on the 9th? I think the biggest was our blueprint tonight.
Yep. Yeah, did you have any questions on this? I mean, as you all know, the biggest project I'd say the town's currently working on is the BGV development project. It is not on the 9th, as I understand it. There are some other things on here, obviously, that are valuable as well and important, but as I understand, they're trying to work on the deal points of that development agreement. And that'll come back on the 23rd, which is the second meeting in January. So beyond that, there are a number of second readings, as you can see on the legislative one, the mail-in ballot election, which is a pretty standard approach. The equity blueprint discussion, it would be wonderful if y'all could show up in force to support that. I think that's really helpful for council to see that you all have reviewed this and then, like the product, stand behind it. I think that's really important. So if you're able to, that's probably the biggest one. Otherwise, I think there's some other things in there that you're certainly welcome to ask questions on that we can background, but I could say that's the biggest takeaway point. If you're able to come on the 9th at
I'll forward the invite for council.
And maybe not, that's a lot. So maybe when we know around what time we'll be talking about that, just send out that time.
Perfect.
So that'll be something, I mean, I give council updates and they're all like incredibly interested and excited about this work. So I think it feels really good that it'll come up to that level. So if you do have time to stop by for a second, I know if they have any questions, they could ask you so you can see how the process works. But overall, like I can speak for all of town council that is just so proud of what's come out of this commission. So great work, everyone.
Is that January 9th? Or?
Mhm.
And will our new nominees or commissioners will be on the town council agenda to?
They were approved last meeting.
Oh, I haven't looked at that video yet. Thank you.
Yeah, so Issa and Joe Twan were approved by council at our last meeting on the 12th.
and Jordan was
Yeah. And Jordan was reappointed second term.
Great.
All right, I don't have any other kind of other matters unless this group wants to present something that they've heard about in the community. And then no public comments still.
I want to mention that being here today and see how much the commission has advanced and done. And I'm very proud of you guys and congratulations, because I was at the beginning and we were trying to figure it out and see all of this work, and it is so good job, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have you back to be a part of it and to see what we've done. But I would like to adjourn today's meeting, if everyone's okay.
Yes.
Can I get a second?
Second that.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joyce. We love you.